Hi, everyone, and welcome. I'm excited about my guest today, Lisa Evans from Chickadee Kids Company. Thank you so much for joining today, Lisa.
Thanks for having me.
We have a great topic today, which is play with purpose. And I think that is so important these days because parents are trying to figure out what activity to do with their children at various ages from 0 and up, but also how to maybe make them skills along the way of play. So I'm excited to have you. So first, let us know a little bit about the Chickadee Kids Company, and then we'll get right into our topic.
Sure. So Chickadee Kids Company was actually initially Chickadee Family Cafe. So it used to be a play space where parents could come in, have coffee, play with their kids. And a lot of what I focused on with the cafe was exactly this. It was play with purpose. It was developmental toys, toys to support children's development at different stages of their life. And then obviously the pandemic happened, shut down the play cafe because it was, you can't do birthday parties and play dates and stuff. So shut that down. I was pregnant at the time with my daughter, Abigail, who's now 22 months, and decided to flip the business and open a toy store instead. So a toy store with purpose. So I always kind of didn't like going into a lot of the big box toy stores. I found it difficult to find toys that I was looking for that would support my child's development. So I have a 7-year-old and now a 22-month-old. And yeah, I just always found it very difficult to find the toys that I was looking for, toys that were developmental, toys that didn't have all these lights and sounds and batteries and that weren't annoying to me. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to open my own store and bring in the toys that I want my kids to play with, and so that's what I did. So we are Chickadee Kids Company. We opened in August of 2020, which was actually coincidentally the month that my daughter was born. And yeah, so going on to our 2-year anniversary now.
That's amazing. Well, congratulations. Now, we all know that children develop very quickly in those first year to 2 years. So let's start with that. When you say developmental toys, what are these exactly?
So developmental toys are just toys that meet your child where they're at and support their development goals. So, and I know it sounds weird that children have developmental goals, but let's say, for a good example of development is understanding cause and effect, right? So a lot of times, babies, toddlers will do something. You might find it annoying, but really, when you think about it, they're trying to understand cause and effect. So, what happens when I bang my spoon on my table? It makes a noise. Ooh, that's exciting to me, right? And then they'll bang it louder because it makes a louder noise. Maybe they'll bang the spoon against the bowl because that makes a different noise. So all of that is just them understanding cause and effect. What happens when I do this? Maybe they want to know, like, what happens to mom when I do this? Like, what reaction are you eliciting when they do that behavior, right? So a lot of times when we study our kids and we study what they're doing, we can see the pattern of, oh, that's what they're trying to learn. That's what they're focusing on, right? So finding toys and activities that you can do with them that really help them with that developmental milestone and kind of meet them where they're at, that's kind of what we focus on here. So some of those cause and effect toys, like let's say that they're doing this thing with the spoon, you're like this is something they're really interested in, right? So we have a toy that's called the pound and tap bench, right? So you hit something and the ball falls through, cause and effect. So picking toys like that are stimulating to your child, they're meeting them where they're at developmentally, and they're helping to fulfill that obvious need that they're having for understanding cause and effect in a way that's not going to annoy you, that's not banging on the spoon on the table, is a great way to help your kids develop. So that's what we mean when we say developmental toys. It's just toys that meet your child where they're at and help them develop a certain skill. For babies, a lot of the time it's tummy time, right? So we want the babies to develop those neck muscles and their spinal muscles and all of that stuff. So we want them to do tummy time, but finding activities and finding toys that are going to support them in doing that, in achieving that, and lifting up their head. So that's kind of what we mean with developmental toys.
I love that. Now, everyone really knows, or most parents know, that the first 3 months, our children are really just sleeping and eating. But then they hit this 3, 4 month age where it's like a light switch, and all of a sudden the baby's awake and they need to be
Mhm.
entertained. So I love that you use toys, the term tools.
Yes.
So can you tell me a little bit about what that means? What exactly do you mean as tools?
Yeah, so tools are just a way of saying, instead of saying it's a toy, because when you say toy, it just sort of implies that it's just something to play with. It doesn't really have any purpose to it. But when you say it's a tool, you suddenly start to think of it in a different way that, okay, it's a tool. So what's the purpose of this tool? So a lot of the toys that we stock in our store, or the tools that we have in our store, they're things that are helping our babies develop. So, for example, when you say if baby's around 3 months, even before that, babies are really not seeing in color, right? So babies see in color when they're about 4 or 5 months. So using a tool like high contrast cards, for example, you can start using those very early on. And that's really helping your baby's eyes to develop, because they're the high contrast cards. I don't know if you've seen those before, but they're those black and white images. They kind of look, like shadows a little bit sometimes. They're just super high contrast, black and white, and so that the baby can actually see the image, because they can't see in color. So if you're showing a baby an image of a duck and it's got all these different colors on it, they're not making out any of that. But if you show them a high contrast card that's in black and white, they can now make out the shape of the duck. Right. So you can start doing that with babies very, very young. And you'll see sometimes infants, if you put them in their crib and you're showing them these high contrast cards, or say you have them on a mobile, or a book that you're just showing them the book, you'll see that they start to concentrate. They're trying to focus, they're trying to learn. And that is just, I think that's so exciting. It was fascinating to me when I showed this to my daughter. She was probably maybe 6 weeks, 7 weeks old at the time. And I started introducing the high contrast cards to her. And I saw her eyes just focus and lock in on this thing that I was showing her. And I was like, wow, look at that. Like, she's learning something, she's seeing something, right?
I
So
love
that's
that.
what I mean with toys as tools. So if we think of, instead of saying, let's get a new toy, if you say let's get a new tool, and that, I think it just changes your mindset of what toys are, and that there's a purpose to this toy.
I love that. I've actually suggested that to so many clients with younger babies, to have those high contrast cards, even taped up to the wall next to the baby's crib as well. Sometimes those colorful mobiles aren't doing much, but those actually help to stimulate the brain and create that.
They're
Um,
actually really great, like during tummy time. Like if you put them on the floor, or like kind of prop them up, when your baby's doing tummy time, they're so fascinated by it, because that is the way that they're seeing is through those black and white images, right? They're
I love
great
that.
tools.
I love that. From what you're saying, it sounds like a developmental toys or tools. It's almost like if a parent is thinking about what can I purchase, to sort of say, does this help develop any of the five senses for my baby? Is
Yeah.
this something they can touch, see, smell, hear? Maybe not so much taste, but the
Yeah.
other ones would be
Well,
perfect.
even that though, you know what? I mean, we have a lot of wooden teethers in our store, and that is one of the things that I was thinking of, when stocking these items, and they're wooden and they're safe for babies to chew on. They will gravitate towards all of these different textures, right? So we have, of course, the silicone teethers, but then mixing that up and adding in that wooden teether, it just gives them that little extra, right? That stimulates their senses. And if they're always sort of chewing on the same thing, give them something a little bit different that stimulates them a little bit, and see what happens.
That's great advice. So if I'm a parent and I'm going to the store, you're the expert with what types of products are there going to help with these developmental stages. What are some things that I might consider?
So when I buy toys for the store, and when I buy toys for my kids, I always sort of have front and focus in the center of my mind of what is the purpose? What is the goal of this toy? What are the skills that we are working on? And I do this even with my daughter who's 22 months. I do this with my son who's 7. What kind of skills are we trying to work on at the time? So maybe it's fine motor skills, right? With babies, a lot of the time we're working on their physical skills. So their fine motor, their gross motor development. Maybe they're starting to learn to walk or stand, right? So thinking about where they are and what the purpose is of the toy. Is it going to help them achieve this milestone? Kind of thing. And I mean, toys are fun too. You have to have the fun factor in there as well. But things can be fun and they can also be purposeful as well.
I love that. Okay, so I'm going to put you on the spot
Yeah.
and I'm going to ask you for one of your favorite must have toys perhaps for each category. So let's say for 0 to 3 months, that really newborn stage, any toys or things that you might suggest that may help, considering the developmental tools that you're talking about.
Yeah, so 0 to 3 months, I always love those high contrast. So we have not just the cards, but we have loads of toys that have that high contrasting image in them. So we have these little balls that have high contrasting colors. They're very soft. Some of them are crinkly, so they've got that little texture in them as well. I love toys that have a little bit of texture or something to stimulate babies because they're feeling everything through their touch, right? That's how they're exploring their world is through their touch at that time because that's just their stage of development, right? So anything that has a bit of a texture to it, a little bit of a sound, that crinkly sound, that's like baby crack. That crinkly stuff is like baby crack. They love it. So yeah, those little high contrast balls are just amazing, and of course the high contrast cards I love for that age.
Awesome. Okay, let's talk about the 4 to 8 month. This is where they're becoming more mobile and seeing more and doing more, but not necessarily standing or walking yet.
Yeah, so my daughter's favorite toy at this age was it's called the musical penguin wobbler. And it is this little penguin and it topples over, but when it topples, it also makes this little sound. And that was our go-to toy for tummy time. So I would put that in front of her. And, as she was getting better at tummy time and lifting her head a little bit more, I'd put it a little further away so that she'd have to reach for it. And kind of getting her ready for crawling. But I loved that toy. It's still a favorite. I still have it at home, but yeah, that was a very good one. Anything that you can sort of stimulate them to achieve that next milestone. So for her, it was just the tummy time, lifting up her head, reaching for things, and the penguin is just super super cute.
That's great. Okay, now we've got those 8 month olds that are starting to be more mobile. So, what would you recommend maybe for the 8 to, let's say, 18 months? I know that's a bit of a span, but that's kind of where they're learning to walk and pull up and things like
Yeah.
that. What would you recommend?
That is a big span. Okay, so I'll give you a couple of my favorites. So one of
Sure.
the ones that I really love, it's a sensory toy. I love sensory toys, but it's a sensory toy. It's a Sense and Grow tissue box. And so my daughter, around a year, I guess, started wanting to pull things out of things. Like around that age, they're pulling things out, they're stacking things, putting things in, taking them out. That's like it's the thing that they want to do all the time. So she started pulling all of my Kleenexes out of my Kleenex box and throwing them all over the floor, making a great big mess. And I was like, that's great that you're practicing the skill of pulling things out, but like, let's maybe do it in a way that's not wasting all of our Kleenex. So there's this toy that's called the Sense and Grow tissue box, and it is there's crinkle paper in there, like I said, baby crack, which we love. And there's also those little what do you call them? Like tissues that are different colors. So you can play peekaboo with those. You can hide things with them. So at that age, they're really into that cause and effect. So hiding stuff and showing it. Like where's the cow? You get like one of those little cow figurines and put a paper on top of it, lift it up. Oh, there it is, right? Object permanence is another thing that they're really working on at that point. That things disappear, but they come back, right? Which is actually a really great skill to work on object permanence when you want to leave the room to go and do something, and then they think that you're gone, right? And that then they cry because they think that you're not going to come back. So playing games like peekaboo and hiding things and bringing them back is actually really great for them to develop that sort of separation anxiety. Not to be so afraid that you're going to leave. You're like, no, but I'm still here, just like the cow. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
yeah, so that is a great one. And there's like I really love toys at that age that will grow with the child. So the Sense and Grow tissue box, I think, is one that you can play peekaboo with it when they're 8 and 10 months. You can also, they start pulling things out of it when they're 12 months. We are still playing with it, and we're 22 months. So it's one of those ones that's going to grow with them. The
That's where they
other
can
one
find
that
mommy and daddy's cell phone as well and hide it in the box and
yes.
walk around.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I really love toys that grow with our kids and that they can use at different stages. So another one is the Innie Bin has been a super popular one with us. It's basically a cube and it has little strings on it. And so you put objects in and then you can take them out, but you have to like get them out through these strings. So it's a bit of a challenge. So That one, I would say around 12 months will last you all the way up to about 36 months, I would say with this one.
Oh, that's
Because
great.
they first start by just being able to put things in. They can't quite take it out yet. And they'll ask you to take it out. And then they'll be able to take them out on their own, probably around 18 months. They'll be able to take them out on their own. And what I love about this cube is that there's two different sides to it. So, well, there's four, eight sides, but there's two levels. So the first level is just single strings, and the next one is cross strings. So my daughter's 22 months. We're not at the cross string stage yet. So she'll probably be another few months before she gets to that. So it's one of those toys that just kind of it matches them where they're at and pushes them to that next level. So I really love toys that do that.
Oh, that's amazing. It's amazing that we can be educating our kids and helping them
Yeah.
develop through these toys and through play. That's so great to hear. It sounds like some of the toys you've even described, the stuff that you're using with your 3-month-old, they stay still maybe interested in those things
Oh,
as they get
definitely.
older, up to 3 or 4 years old. So
Yeah.
does your store carry toys within a specific range? That would be great to share with our viewers and listeners as well.
Yeah, so we're an early year store. So most of the products that we have are from ages 0 to about 6. We do stock some art stuff that goes up to about age 8, but typically we're 0 to age 6.
That's great. And you're an online store?
We are, yep. We have a website. We ship across Canada. We're located in Burlington. We do local delivery in Burlington and Oakville, but we do ship across the country as well.
That's fantastic. Oh, I'm so excited that you're able to share this with families. I think sometimes we forget that our kids are learning at every stage,
Yes.
and maybe buying that specific toy is not really going to help them develop. But that's kind of our goal, is to help them develop all those skills. So that's great that you shared that play for with a purpose. So thank you so much for joining today. Can you just share your website with everyone?
Sure. So we are chickadeekidsco.com. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, Chickadee Kids Company.
So exciting. If you guys have a question for Lisa, please let us know. If you want to reach out to her, we'll make sure that we have her contact information in the show notes as well. And Lisa, thank you so much for joining and sharing such great information today.
Thanks for having me.